Yum, yum. Gizmo. You want a nice atypical holiday film? Gremlins, original, which this doesn't seem to be the popular opinion, but I like the sequel not just a little, but like a lot better. But the sequel's not a holiday film. Only the original Gremlins is, in fact, a Christmas movie. And while I know a lot of times there will be debates, is it actually a Christmas movie? Is Die Hard really a Christmas movie? Does it count just because it's set at Christmas? This does, because the fact that it's Christmas actually drives a fair bit of the plot that's going on. So this one absolutely counts. There will be no debate. But Gremlins, if you weren't aware, is an 80s horror comedy, very, very strange movie. I hadn't rewatched it in a long time, but it's a weird one, this thing. And, I mean, part of it is, again, when I was young, because the second one came out when I was 8, and I got that on VHS, and I rewatched it over and over and over again, and amongst other things, the effects and the puppetry is better in the second one, so it's hard for me to go back to the first one. It's like playing a sequel in a video game where like they updated a bunch of the mechanics, and then you go back and play the first one again. You're like, oh, but I really got used to those quality of life improvements. That's what it's like for me with my deep love of Gremlins 2. I need to get off that topic though. Let's focus up here. So this is a story of the Peltzer family, the patriarch of which goes to this weird little Chinatown shop and finds a strange little furry creature called a Mogwai that he decides, hey, that'd be a great gift for my kid. I don't know why, but he does, and he brings it home to his son, Billy. And from there, shenanigans are going to ensue. Now, the Mogwai named Gizmo, he's cute, he's cuddly, he's adorable. And actually, you know what kind of occurred to me? He looks a bit like Baby Yoda. Like if they shaved Gizmo, he'd look like Baby Yoda. I know they gave it a name. The child now has like a proper name. I don't care. I like calling it Baby Yoda. Or Baby Yodes is what Liz calls it. But anyways, and he's adorable and he sings, but there's weird rules around him. Don't get him in bright light, especially sunlight. Sunlight will kill him, but bright light in general he doesn't like. And I want to pause right there. Part of me wonders, was that in the script from the beginning? Or did that get added in because they realized shooting in darkness was going to be an easier way to hide the seams on the effects? It works either way. I'm just kind of curious where the chicken and the egg on that is. Was it always in the script that they had to watch out for bright light and that just coincidentally made the effects easier to pull off? Or did they realize they needed the effects easier to pull off and that got added in a revision before they shot? I don't know. I'm just curious. So there's that. No water. It's never addressed whether or not Gizmo can dehydrate as a result of that. But anyways, and finally, the most important one, no food after midnight. Now, these 3 rules, especially if you're anywhere near my age, have been joked about and parodied left, right, including by the film's own sequel. Because they're very strange, arbitrary rules that there must be more specifics that we don't know. The one that I always used to wonder, even when I was young, is, okay, so you can't feed them after midnight. When can you start feeding them again, though? Because technically the entire day is after midnight. When does the clock reset? Presumably when the sun comes up? But then that makes it a completely different time relative to where you are on the planet and the time of year it is. Like, theoretically, if you took a Mogwai to like one of those weird towns like up in Alaska that has nothing but darkness for a month, could you not feed the Mogwai that entire month? That's the kind of things I worry about. But again, you're really not supposed to question it. Yes, it is ridiculous. But you kind of just got to roll with it. And the thing is, this wasn't even atypical of 80s movies. I think they were more comfortable just sort of asking audiences to go along with this sort of thing. Pretty much accepting that, like, look, if you can't go along with us on this bit of nonsense, you're not going to be able to last the entire movie. Which, you know what? Fair. But then, of course, rules start getting broken. He gets wet, which causes him to, like, spawn all these little furballs that grow into other Mogwai that don't behave like Gizmo. Gizmo's kind of laid back. He's a little chill. He likes to play music. These ones are mischievous. They seem to be up to something. And then the other Mogwai end up tricking Billy into feeding them after midnight, at which point they go into cocoons and then emerge as gremlins. Shenanigans. And it really is a very bizarre mix of very goofy, broad humor and very sincere horror. And it can turn on a dime at times, and I'm not always sure successfully. Like, obviously you can blend comedy and horror. It's been done before Gremlins. It's been done after Gremlins. But the thing about why, at least for me, it doesn't quite work with Gremlins is the style of comedy and the level of sincerity of the horror don't quite mix right. Because, like, so let's take a few counterexamples. Say something like Evil Dead 2. That has very broad humor, but the horror is less sincere by and large. It's more about gore, and there's really only a few moments that actually try and be like scary or unnerving. They're few and far between. It realizes that the ridiculousness of its humor means that the horror has to kind of lean into the slapstick and whatnot as well. Or as a counterexample, something like Shaun of the Dead, where the situation is actually played completely straight and all the humor is character-based, but the situation is never treated as a comedy, only the characters who are in it. So it's comedy characters in a horror situation. Here, it is, in many ways, a comedy film with horror going on in it, and it's weird. So... And also, some of the humor, honestly, I don't think ever worked particularly well, and other bits of humor have dated poorly. You know, the broad, racially stereotyped characters like the old man who originally has Gizmo. I half expected him to say ancient Chinese secret at some point. And I mean, that's just the vibe of the writing and the way that the actor was asked to play him. And, like, he actually plays the part quite well. But obviously that's what they wrote, and that's what he was asked to do, and so he did it. He was a professional. So there's things like that, or like the one thing I don't think ever worked is there's this whole running gag with the dad that he's like a garage inventor, and he's always coming up with these things that work for a little while and then break. And it's a source of a fair number of jokes and like oddities in the Peltzer house that don't really mean much or add anything, and there's really no payoff to the fact that he's an inventor. It's just the stuff that's used as gags, and the worst part is towards the tail end, like where things are like building towards a climax. We keep cutting to him like coming home from this inventor convention, or like stopping to try and hawk some of his wares at a gas station. I'm like, why are you killing the momentum for this? It wouldn't be funny even if you weren't doing that. It's really not funny now. But I've mostly done some griping here. Like, I do have fun with this movie still. Like, I think easily my favorite scene is the one in the bar, which admittedly doesn't move the story forward, but it also has the vibe that they picked up on and ran with the second one, which is the Gremlins are basically cartoon villains. Like, they are so ridiculous that you just gotta have fun. More to the point, they have fun. They do all of this for the laughs, for the heck of it. That's the motivation behind everything that they are doing. And you really get that in that scene. But also, as I said, prior to that and even after, some of the plays at horror are very legitimate. Like when we first see the cocoons, and when the cocoons open, it's like between the music, the way it's shot, how gooey the things are when they're opening. That's like, it's very Alien-esque, like the movie Alien. And it's kind of like, whoa, that took a turn. And then later towards the end with the leader of the Gremlins, when he was the only one left, named Stripe. Oddly enough, also the name of my daughter's hamster. Yeah. But when it's just him and Billy is like tracking him down, the scene again has goofy moments and odd beats, but then like there are other points where it's like, whoa, okay, that got real there for a minute, or the way that spoiler alert, Stripe dies, because yes, the monsters lose and they all die. It's again very gruesome. It's funny. My mother actually didn't let me watch this when I was a kid. She let me watch the second one because the second one's ridiculous and goofy. But she wouldn't let me watch the first. I'd seen it like once when I was young, but I think maybe I saw it. I actually don't remember. I don't know if I did see the first one before I saw the second one. I still knew the story because, oh boy, I'm really going to date myself with this. I had these little picture books with records, these little records, and there were 6 of them. And they told the whole story of the movie. So like you'd flip the page of the picture book while the record was going. But, and I didn't even realize this until recently, I was missing, I think, the second one, maybe the third. I was missing one of them. And I never thought anything of it. I just thought, well, maybe my mother couldn't find it or whatever, because I'm pretty sure she got these for me. But what I realized is the main reason she wouldn't let me watch this as a kid was because of the scenes where the Gremlins torture Gizmo. She hated that. She absolutely hated that. And that's the record that I'm missing out of the set. I'm missing the one that would have covered the bits where they tortured Gizmo. I only just realized that. Clever woman. And I never questioned the fact that I was missing that one, even as a kid. But anyway, I do still have an awful lot of fun with this. And there are certainly the weird mix of tones. It's something that is very 80s because in a lot of ways, 80s, as things were starting to push the ratings, because this was back when PG-13 didn't exist yet. And so things in PG movies, which this was, like really kind of pushed their limits a little bit. And you got these weird blends like this that I'm not sure would have happened, or certainly probably wouldn't have been this successful at any other time. So it is, in a lot of interesting ways, a unique artifact of when it was made. And I do still enjoy it. I'm not sure I'd recommend it to anyone who doesn't have nostalgia for it. I think if you have nostalgia for it, give it a rewatch. It's a good time. It is one of those movies that's hard for me to advise anybody to see for the first time now, especially if they're not my age or older, and at the very least have some nostalgia for the era it would have been made in. Like if you're Gen Z, if you're younger than a millennial, I don't know what you'll get out of this. And I really don't know. Because, yes, I've danced around it. Some people have already probably started to write comments. No, I did not forget about the bizarre story that Billy's girlfriend tells about why she hates Christmas. Which is not only a damn weird story, but happens at a really weird point in the movie. Where it's like, we're going to stop the thing dead to do this? What? Whoa, okay. And again, there's a wonderful self-parody of that in the sequel. Another reason I love the sequel a lot more than this. But I do still enjoy this. But a lot of that is driven by nostalgia and just thinking back on sitting with my little record player and listening to those records. And I remember, I don't know if I still have any of them, but I remember the pictures. I remember the way that it sounded on the record. And so, you know, even though I don't think I saw the movie when I was young, I still have nostalgia for it in a weird roundabout way. And it's a fun alternate bit of a Christmas time season viewing, if you want to shake it up a little bit. Gremlins! You rewatched it yet? What do you think about it? I heard rumor a bit back that well, they've been talking about doing a Gremlins 3 for a while. Now the rumor is that they're talking about doing a prequel, which normally I'd roll my eyes at, except there are so many unanswered questions about where Gizmo came from, that you could actually get a proper story out of that, and theoretically actually flesh out the character of Mr. Wing and make him less of a stereotype. Whatever. Who knows if that'll ever happen. In any case, whatever your thoughts are, drop something down in the comments. Let's talk about it. Like, share, subscribe. I have a Patreon, usual stuff. You know what it is. That is a huge help. But even if you're not able to do that, just watching and commenting all the rest of it still helps, but no pressure, because we take a relaxed attitude around here. So come on back next time you need a break.